Welcome to my review of E3 2018. Generally, I don't review the E3s or really any video game exhibition type thing that sells a whole heck of a heap of video games. Generally, I'll just review games that are directly correlated to my channel being Gran Turismo and only Gran Turismo or stuff like that. But this one is going to be an exception because there's actually a whole heck of a heap of games I may very well feature later on in the channel that was at E3, and then maybe some stuff I wanted to feature that ain't at E3. And I'll put this in as well, I ain't going to go over every single thing of E3, I'm just going to go over stuff that will be more on the channel, or at least have been said in the past on the channel. Because this is more about what's interesting to me, so by extension y'all, if you all are watching this video, I assume you probably watched me before. If you're new here, well, what's on screen is generally what I like. Crazy stuff, Mopars, donuts. That's a pretty good summary right yonder. This is a Dodge Challenger that have landed on a yacht in the middle of winter. What could possibly go wrong? And segue into E3. What went wrong? No Skate 4. That's probably the most obvious one and the most cop-out answer. I have had Skate 3 videos on the channel ever since the beginning, pretty much, of my channel. Like, I think one of my first 10 videos was Skate 3. And honestly, I've played it since the very beginning, and I started way back when with Skate 2. I was aware that the original Skate existed, but I didn't get it. I got Skate 2, honestly, because of the Hall of Meat, and then I got used to the other stuff later on, like the actual skateboarding. And then, well, here's now, folks. Now we have Session. Yay. We don't really know that much about it, other than just gameplay of people skateboarding in a skateboard game. That's kind of what we expect. To be honest, if you look at a whole heck of a heap of other genres that send out new stuff, Session looks somewhat generic. It didn't really show anything all that cool. It just had people skateboarding. But it's the only cotton-picking one out there. Seriously. I mean, the only other skateboard game that's on the new consoles is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Or 5. Or whatever. I can't even remember what number it is anymore. I think it might be 5. I don't know. Tony Hawk games haven't been relevant in quite literally almost 20 years now. That game is absolutely terrible. So I don't even really think that one's a count. And apparently, Session might only count for Xbox. I'm not really sure on that, but how Xbox made it seem is that might very well be an exclusive. And actually, how Sony made it seem, Skate might be their own exclusive. If that ends up being announced, or it may still never technically be announced because nothing's official, but if it is announced, I may do a video that EA is still evil. Even though it's a PS4, which is the one that I got that may be getting it. If it is an exclusive, then, well, that's a strike on EA. Or if it's never announced, that's a strike on EA. So, I may be a bit harsh, but I think EA better get this bit right. I mean, they're going in the right direction when they had the Burnout Paradise remaster, and they're making the NBA Live games better, and it seems like they don't have a strong hold on the football games that much anymore, because apparently there's a college football game not made by EA coming out somewhere in 2020 or something like that. But moving on from skateboarding, I saved the ones that y'all are probably more interested in for later, but I think Skate 4 kind of reached a broader realm than just people like the skateboarding games, just because that game was even popular in the YouTube community, and by default, this is YouTube community. What kind of community is this on YouTube? Do y'all consider this the dark web? I don't know. If y'all got to hear, then maybe it ain't the brightest. I don't know. I know it ain't the brightest, but anyway, next thing. Again, I kind of touched on the Crew 2 having stuff. There's also Forza Horizon 4, which obviously by default I ain't gonna have on the channel because I don't have an Xbox. But I'll still mention it because it's still sorta kinda like the Crew 2. The Crew 2 is in America. I assume all the crews will probably be in America, or at least North America. At some point they're gonna have to expand, I would think. If they're gonna do Crew 3, then maybe it'd be North America or something like that, but I don't know. This is now, and it's still just America. But Forza Horizon 4 countered with England. So America versus England, they could be doing that somewhat on purpose. They noticed the Crew 2 is just going to have the same place over and over. So they're countering with a place that's somewhat like it. Everybody speaks English there, duh. And it's probably going to appeal to somewhat the same crowd. Because I'd say people in America probably like England more than Australia. I mean, maybe that's somewhat biased, but I'll say this. On vacation, I'd rather go to England than Australia. But who knows, folks? They may have done that on purpose. It may have just been random, but either way, that's how it is now, and it's kind of honestly weird. Weird in the sense of it was not even looking like we were going to get a Forza Horizon this year, and then now it's just barely even announced at the time in which the Crew 2 is pretty much out and already has been out to some people, and that game's coming out really a whole heck of a heap after. Is Forza Horizon 4 actually going to not do so good because the Crew 2 is coming out first and honestly looks better? Who knows, folks? Supposedly the Forza Horizon 4 has 72 person online. How in the blue blazes they're going to make that work is beyond me. Maybe it's just going to be a Battle Royale mode. Seriously. It may be something along the lines of that. I don't really know how that works in a racing game. Maybe it's just where you can pretty much free roam. It's just you start way outside the circle. You have to take different routes to get to the middle of the circle by the end, and whoever is there first wins or something. I don't know. But we'll see, folks. We'll see. That could be chaotic, but it could also be really fun. And the Crew 2 is limited to, I think it still might only be 8 people. That's going to be the one and only main selling point of Forza Horizon 4 over the Crew 2. If you have an Xbox or both systems. I don't. So we have the Crew 2, but honestly, I think it's better. I didn't go to that much specifics to the Crew 2 before, so now I'll try my best to analyze the trailer more, which I don't have directly up, because y'all might have heard thunder in the background. It's raining, and my internet's kind of slow. That's why this is a still picture, but this seems to be the best time to record, is right after. Because now everything's fresh in my head. But anyway, Crew 2 trailer. Really, there's absolutely nothing new. What I've actually shown on the channel probably sums up the game honestly as good as that trailer. I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but it's really what everybody's kind of shown on their channels sums it up. There's already a lot of Crew 2 YouTube stuff out there because the closed beta was allowed to be shown. So that trailer didn't really have me an impression one way or the other. Which is kind of a good thing because overall I have good impressions of the game. Y'all watch both of my impression videos, and I mean, there's some glitches in there, and the switching between vehicles and the restarting events and all that's kind of clunky, but those things can be fixable. And even if they ain't, usually that's probably not going to be that big of a deal, because usually I don't think you'd have to grind too much in the main game, because it's looking like getting parts and all that's going to be somewhat easy. But it's still an issue. So, moving on to the final point that honestly some people may have thought was going to happen way earlier, and some people thought may have not happened at all. That kind of sounds like an intro to Skate 4, but it ain't, because that may still not technically happen. It's still not 100% official yet. But what is, after quite literally 5 or 6 years now, is Wreckfest on console. PC gets it first, because PC really has already had it for 5 or so years now. Wasn't NerdCube doing videos on this in like 2012 or something? Literally, I think that game's been around since like pretty much the beginning of his channel, and his channel is like completely different now. There's been YouTubers who've evolved more than that game, but honestly, even some of the original videos of that game, it already looked pretty good. I don't even really think a console could have ran it back then, because back then it would have just been the PS3, Xbox 360. But now, on the PS4, they finally seem to have got it to work. I don't know if there's actually been any console gameplay yet. I'm not sure if that trailer featured console gameplay or if that was all PC. But nonetheless, that trailer didn't show too much new either. Is the main point of Wreckfest is the exact name of it. It's just wrecking each other and you're allowed to do it and it looks cool when you do it. It's the best damage model, arguably, in all of video games. I don't really know if BMG Drive is ever planned for a console, but I feel like Wreckfest is more better for a console base. Because I feel like that's not a game that you need as much mods for to have fun. BMG Drive is way more scenario based, when Wreckfest you can actually race people more. So that's going to bring more longevity to consoles. Because the scenarios eventually will just run out and then you go to mods, which consoles don't really have. But Wreckfest, you can just race each other and sort of make your own fun from that. So, I think it's going to be really good on consoles, I think. And it's kind of sort of Burnout Paradise in a way. Because, I'll be honest here, I assume more people than not bought or buying, whatever. I guess you still technically can buy the remaster, even though I don't think the price has dropped yet. Except for a few days where it was on sale, but nonetheless, different video. Most people probably have Burnout Paradise, or the remastered, because of the damage model. Wreckfest has a better damage model than Burnout Paradise, which should be expected given that game's between 5 and 10 years newer, depending on what build you're talking about. The console one's 10 years newer. You would kind of expect a game that's 10 years newer to have a better damage model, but as of now, like before Wreckfest comes out, I would still say Burnout Paradise has the best damage model of any game on the PlayStation 3. Burnout Paradise Remastered has the best damage model in any game on PlayStation 4. That's kind of sad if you think about it. We really haven't advanced that much in 10 years. But now we finally starting to. We have Wreckfest. Hallelujah. For those people who are like me, who enjoy just wrecking cars and looking at the carnage, this seems to be about a perfect game. To be honest, even without Skate 4, the Crew 2 looks incredible. A bit glitchy, but if all that gets fixed, it could be about a 10 out of 10 game. It'd be nice if it had more people online, but I probably wouldn't have even brought that up if it wasn't for Horizon 4 having 70 cockpit 2, but Wreckfest has nothing to complain about yet, but there's not all that much to really say other than damage model. But I will say this. No racing simulators were announced at E3, at least none that I saw. But yeah, every game announced that I've mentioned looks better than Gran Turismo Sport. If y'all want to dislike the video, whatever, but yeah, I feel like by now y'all know that I'm not exactly the most pleased with GT Sport. I mean, of course, now we're going into where we're going to get the actual FIA stuff, which is the game's main selling point, blah, blah, blah. But, one, it took this long to get to the game's main selling point. We're well over 6 months into the game, and I'd say at this point, not that many people who bought the game actually care about it as much anymore to go back to it. People who do care would be here no matter what, because those would be the ones actually competing to get rewards from it. So they'd be here no matter what. And there was no GT7 announcement at E3, which we weren't really expecting one, but we kind of already got rumors that the PlayStation 5 is going to be kind of soonish. And knowing how PD is so much slow about getting games out, GT Sport wasn't delayed, but also it wasn't the most complete game in the world. And many another Gran Turismo game got delayed. It could already be to the PlayStation 5 where we're getting Gran Turismo 7. That's kind of sad. And if it ends up the one and only Gran Turismo game on the PlayStation 4 is GT Sport, then that's kind of depressing, ain't it? And what would be even more depressing if Gran Turismo 7 still never happens. At this point, I feel like Gran Turismo 7 and Skate 4 are in the same boat. Last year was looking like neither may never happen. This year, nothing's official, but it's looking like both more likely than not will happen. But we still don't know for sure, so keep expectations low, because both companies are starting to become kind of notorious with not actually doing what we kind of think we're going to do. EA has been doing that for a long time now. PD is I mean, they've kind of always been notorious with delaying games, but I mean, at this point, we're not even fully getting what we're expecting because still, GT Sport was saying 500 cars. We have like 200 something, and we're almost a year in. At this point, if they put 300 cars in a game, not that many people are actually going to care. Not that many people are going to use them. I mean, granted, I wasn't expecting to get the full 500. By the time we're a year or so in the game, I figured we'd get the majority at this point, because the majority of people's probably left the game by now, has bought it. And that in and of itself is only 3.3 million, which I've done in my own video on, aka meaning it's less. More details in that video, but to sum it up, I doubt we're even ever at any point gonna get over 1 million people playing Gran Turismo Sport in any event in any time period they make it with any importance. And it's only gonna hurt when the other, even when they're not racing simulator games come out. Wreckfest is probably gonna get some Gran Turismo fans because it's going to get some of everyone's fans. People have seen this game in development for 5 years and everyone's aware of it. I think that game's actually going to sell really good just because it's going to be by far the best damage model. We've been waiting for a good damage model for really 10 years since Burnout Paradise. And this is going to deliver on that. And then the Crew 2 is completely different than Gran Turismo Sport. Really about the only thing that they have in common is they both have cars. The Crew 2 has a whole heck of a heap more than cars, and it's still going to take some of the Gran Turismo fan base, I believe, just because it's so much more to do. Gran Turismo Sport, again, I've said with it more than a lot of games because it is a simulator, is repetition for competition isn't really a bad thing. Like, if you're doing the same thing over and over to get better at it, it's not really a negative. But there's still, even though we may end up getting to 500 cars, there's still not a whole heck of a heap of tracks, and still, even if we get the maximum amount of tracks we would get, and the maximum amount of cars we would get, well, technically, the amount of cars is still end up going to be higher than the ones in Crew 2. The Crew 2 has a whole heck of a heap of specs that you can make the cars. When GT Sport, it's just a Group 4 can pretty much only race a Group 4. In the Crew, pretty much any spec can race any spec, because you could just race each other online at wherever you want in America, whether it be track or road or in the middle of nowhere. And as I said, there's the whole America to use in the Crew. Gran Turismo Sport is probably, it already doesn't have the least amount of cars in the series, but I think it may still end up with the least amount of tracks in the series. I don't think real world tracks, because I'm not really sure GT1 had too many real world tracks, if any. I can't fully remember. But still, I don't think there's much denying that, at least in some aspects, GT Sport was kind of underwhelming for everyone. So, if the Crew 2 does above and beyond what we figured a game like it could do, even though it's a game completely different than Gran Turismo Sport, I think it could still take some of its fan base. And then there's Wreckfest that we don't know for sure is going to be good yet, but, well, we do know it's going to be something different than any other games really offered on the PlayStation 4. Gran Turismo needs to step their stuff up. Granted, I'm doing this video supposedly like right before the FIA stuff is going to be announced, and who knows, that could blow me out of the water. And it could blow the people watching this video out of the water. But there's not that many people it truly can affect at this point. The sales were underwhelming for GT Sport, and we're this far into it, so less people care in general of the total amount who bought the game. It wasn't that many to begin with. So, to sum up E3, it was good, not great. I don't really know whose fault it was that Skate 4 wasn't really announced. It may still not even happen. I don't know if that was just an EA thing. I don't know if that was like just the developer's thing not having it ready. But I will say this as a minor note with Skate 4 is there seemed to be other games that were announced without a video. Not too many, but it seemed like even it was one of the ones in EA conference. They just interviewed someone who was involved with the game, and they were saying the game would be out at some point in like 2019 or something like that. And he said, don't be too mad, it's not 2018, we just want to make sure it's good. They could have just done that with Skate 4 and just made people know it's there, because I'd say they've already lost some sales. Not saying it's officially happened, because I'd say at this point there's been some people who's already pre-ordered Sessin who don't really have money for 2 skateboard games. Meaning if Skate 4 is announced even before Sessin comes out, it's too late. They've already lost some sales because people pre-ordered Sessin. But that in and of itself is kind of a different video. Am I going to get Sessin? I have no idea. All they've really shown is just people skateboarding. That's not really a selling point in a skateboarding game. It's showing people skateboarding. It's kind of what we expect. But we've already seen, at least in my opinion, above and beyond with the Crew 2. And Wreckfest in and of itself is beyond. Even without showing true footage because the damage model. The Crew 2 is guaranteed, I'm getting it. Wreckfest is most likely. And Sessin is still completely up in the air for me getting. But nonetheless, this is probably the most relevant E3, at least for my channel, that's been in existence while my channel's been here. I think there's been E3 announcements of Gran Turismos in the past, but nothing really more than that that's interested me all that much. So hope you all were interested in this video and enjoyed it and all that. And I guess there's going to be a whole heck of a heap in the future that y'all can enjoy on the channel too. Again, definitely the Crew 2. And that's going to be here way sooner than later. Wreckfest is going to be here at some point, and I may very well get it. Sessin is a thing that is happening, I'll say that. Skate 4 and GT7 is more likely than it was a year ago. I'll put it like that. And GT Sport, well, it's here now, but who knows how long it's even going to be here in the sense of relevant anymore. Could be a long time if the FIA stuff is good, but we don't know yet. What we do know is what I've shown, and I hope you all enjoyed what I showed. And as always, yeehaw! Even bigger yeehaw if Skate 4 has something or another out. That's for sure, folks. That's for sure. Yeehaw.